It's the Age Has No Limit podcast. We're here to show and prove that your age shouldn't prevent you from designing and living the life you want. I'm your host, Patrice Davis. Let's get started. Welcome to the Age Has No Limit podcast. So with me is Lori Beard, and I'm super excited to get to know more about Lori. So Lori is a proud Puerto Rican who has been married to the love of her life for over 27 years and is a devoted mother of 8. She is a transformational life coach and clinical hypnotist who has coached over 100 entrepreneurs and helped them achieve massive growth in their businesses and revenue through her 7 R's method. And I'm eager to get into her 7 R's method. Lori has been featured on Univision, and that's how I'm going to say it in my English. It's probably Univision, but Univision. The cover of Se El Jefe, which is an international magazine, by the way, and as a guest on numerous video and audio podcasts. Lori is also a self-published author, professional speaker, podcaster, and facilitator. So Lori's got her hands full. So what's so unique about Lori and with every one of us is her journey. Lori's journey began after raising her children, and she decided to return to school with the support of her husband. What started as an academic pursuit turned into a profound personal journey, igniting her passion for helping others. While her training in life coaching and clinical hypnosis is her primary focus, she actually embarked on her own healing journey and became her first client, which I love that. And I'm also eager to dig into that as well. Lori will be hosting a retreat soon, or several retreats. And so we'll be definitely digging into that and sharing that with you. Lori, welcome to the Age Has No Limit podcast.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you. And let me ask you, it's Patrice, right?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you for all of the work you do.
Thank you. So, Lori, we're going to start by learning more about you, the proud Puerto Rican woman, Puerto Riqueño. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, Puerto Rican, yeah, because I'm female.
Yeah, so. That's right. Yes, it's the feminine. So, absolutely. So, where in Puerto Rico are you from? And tell us a little bit about your childhood.
I'm born and raised in Humacao. That starts with an H, but the H is silent. So Humacao, Puerto Rico, that's in the East Coast, beautiful coast side of the island. And I love Palmas del Mar. If you're listening, or if you like golfing and want to ever go to Puerto Rico, Palmas del Mar, it's a beautiful golf course place, and it's amazing. So my childhood was, I'm the youngest of 4 children, raised by a tribe of amazing women, such as my mother and my grandma. My parents got a divorce when I was young, super young, like a baby. And I was always raised and surrounded by strong, beautiful women that were so wise. I got the work ethics and academic interests and desires to pursue new levels in those areas from my mom. And I got the desire to influence others and be a light into the world from my grandma. I say that I was my own first client, but my grandma was my first coach. So.
Yeah, I love that. I'm actually thinking about my grandma as well. And I think for a lot of people, their grandma is their first coach. Yeah. If it's not a parent, then it's definitely that grandma. So Lori, I've been to Puerto Rico twice in the past year and a half. Beautiful country. Wish
Good
I had more time. Yes. I look forward to exploring it a little more. Just being, going to different parts of the island. I'd like to know why you're a proud Puerto Rican, and what would you say that you like the most or love the most about your country?
I'm a proud Puerto Rican, or I can say I'm very happy with my roots, my culture, because it's a beautiful island to start with. We have a rich history. Our background is from Spain, Africa, and the native Taínos that were there. And I think that we like, I'm from Texas now too. Like I live in Texas and I've almost half of my life I've been here. So I'm like split into two. And you know how Texans thinks everything is bigger in Texas and Texas pride.
Mhm.
Puerto Rico too. Once upon a time in New York, many Puerto Ricans fled there for
Mhm.
progress, finances, etc., better job opportunities when the island was struggling. Hurricane after hurricane, Puerto Rico was struggling in their finances. And in New York, there was this thing that the Puerto Ricans could not display their flag.
Mm.
And that changed. I know there were many advocates, many fighters that helped change that. And instead of being ashamed of being Puerto Ricans in New York, um, they started flaunting that flag, showing it off. And I think from there, we have this sense of, I don't like to use the word pride, but
Mhm.
to show our flag, our colors, the one star in that triangle, and because it's a beautiful island in the middle of the sea,
Mhm.
and I love it. I love my roots. I love that we're bilingual. We
Mhm.
learn English from kindergarten, and so many gifts and rich life that I have from my rich culture being in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So
No, I think it's fantastic. So, one of the things I did before I started my current businesses, I started something called Sea Currents, SEECURRENTS. C is in sea and then currents, because
mm,
it was a website that it was a listing website. It is a listing website, very, very dormant right now. But the reason I bring that up is because I created the website to feature the culture of islands around the world. And so it was a
mm,
searchable website where you can find, all the local museums, not all, but the ones that I can certainly find online, some local restaurants, national landmarks, music festivals, literary festivals, marathons, and just different types of things that people can do when they go to visit islands around the world. And I brought that up because it was the research that I did for Puerto Rico that made me say, I'm going to that place at some point. So I learned about Loíza. I learned about
mm.
so many different parts of the island. And when I
Yes.
went the first time, I actually was able to go to Loíza and enjoy some of the food and the culture,
Mm.
just kind of be in that environment. But of course, I was in other parts of the island as well. But yes, for those of you who aren't aware, Puerto Rico's history is very, very interesting, from its Spanish history and all the
Yep.
things that you learn about what the Spanish did on that island. I think they have a lot of firsts in this part of the world, in Puerto Rico. When you learn about the Africans that were brought to Puerto Rico, you learn, of course, about the Taínos. So I know this podcast isn't about promoting Puerto Rico, guys, but Puerto Rico is a cool place, and a lot of times we think of it in a one-dimensional way. It is a completely interesting place to visit, and certainly an interesting place to learn more about. And I can spend a lot of time. We could have a whole conversation about Puerto Rico, but we're not here to do that.
I appreciate you recognizing that, acknowledging, being so knowledgeable about it and
Mhm.
mentioning it. And great news for you. If you're
Mhm.
listening from the US, you don't need a passport to go to Puerto
Mhm.
Rico. From
Yes.
the US, we're born citizens. Sorry for the ones that need to work so hard to get the US citizenship,
Yes.
but we
Yes.
are considered a territory of the United States. We
Mhm.
still have our own governor, and we cannot, in Puerto Rico, we cannot vote for the
Mhm.
US president.
Mhm.
But it's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place to go visit.
Yeah, it is. It is. But yeah, so guys, check it out. Very interesting history in terms of, the different positions that local Puerto Ricans have about their status as territories. But not here to discuss that. I want to learn more about Lori. So one of the first questions many people probably have after hearing your bio is, what exactly is a clinical hypnotist, and how does it help your clients?
Yeah, clinical hypnosis is just the study of the subconscious mind and
Mm.
how it is so powerful to reprogram and to anchor in um, belief systems or new ideas about yourself,
Hmm.
about experiences you've probably had, and you have attached the strong emotions that are limiting you to progress in life.
Hmm.
Um, to help you understand, we all go through some kind of a trance state during the day, which that's a whole another definition for hypnosis. Like we're hypnotized, or you in romantic situations in movies and all that, you hear like, oh, your smile hypnotizes me. Why? Because you get into a trance state where you're like in the clouds, or opera singers, or prayers, people that are very devout prayers, people that pray, get into this trance state where they're transported to maybe another state in their mind, right? And it's not, has nothing to do with drugs. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's just voluntarily you have worked for it, because with the help of my voice, I help the person understand that this is according to their own will, free will and choice. And I help them get into this somewhat between a wake and a sleep state, to help ingrain new ideas and anchor in new possibilities and a new programming that the person has had. And it helps my client because there's a place for talking therapy. I support that, and I have benefited from it. My family members have benefited from it. But there's a point that you are kind of like done with expressing yourself and words, trying to wrap your all the emotions, etc. A great part of clinical hypnosis is that you help the client relax and get to this trance state, and you anchor in with a script with some words that are a lot of affirmative phrases, and the client doesn't need to speak. They don't need to express themselves, and the subconscious mind unravels everything that needs to be sorted out. This is not that easy, that fast. Repetition is the mother of mastery. So I'm working with a client right now where he wants to experience some weight release. And I'm like, okay, we went through this experience through this session, but we need to repeat this messaging to your brain. You know, you're at a certain age, and one session with me, you know, if there's clinical hypnosis that claim that they can make everything happen in one session, I'm not that type. I don't come from that school, because it takes time for the mind to reprogram. And even though many of my clients experience changes from one session, reprogramming, if you're going to go back to your ecosystem, to your environment with the same toxic people, with the same situations, it might take a few more sessions for you to develop that confidence, detach from the feelings, the strong feelings that attach you, that you were holding on to from XYZ experience, trauma, and then for you to let go of that and move forward in life.
Yeah. And I'm so, you know what you've done? You've demystified hypnosis. That's what you basically
I'm glad.
Yeah, because when you say that, number one, we go into trance likes, let's say I don't know,
states of the mind
throughout the day. And that sometimes prayer for some people, that's what takes them into a trance, or maybe, I don't know, meditation, but there are different types of things that get us into a certain state of mind. And that's what you do. You help to, but except what you do is you help to intentionally trigger it, with, like you said, with your client's permission. And there are certain methods that you use. Others may use other methods and different sounds. You use your voice. So this is awesome. Thank you so much for starting us out by, like demystifying hypnosis, because it does have a negative connotation because of the way it's been, right. Shown in movies. Speaking of which, so you're probably familiar with the movie Get Out. For those of you who've watched it, you guys are, I'm sure, very familiar with it, and what happened. So one of the characters is the main character actually is put into is hypnotized, and they are put in this place called the sunken place. And so the person is using hypnosis to do something not so great to the star of the show. So do you find that there are people who have misconceptions? I just said it. I that's my understanding of, that about hypnosis as a result of movies or just general misunderstanding. And what do you say to help your clients understand that, hey, I'm doing this for your benefit, and it can actually help to facilitate or even speed up, so to speak, your transformation?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right when you say that about people having a misunderstanding. You know why? Because people have also used it for the bad aspect, for the dark side of it.
Mm-hmm.
I come from a school of thought that you're not supposed to touch your client, where other hypnosis schools and school of thoughts, yes, you need to touch the person, etc. So I come from a standpoint of is clinical hypnosis is just not. I'm a hypnotist. No, I'm a clinical hypnosis expert, and it helped me. I needed to take little extra courses.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher at where I went to school she uses it to help cancer patients
Mm-hmm.
manage their pain after a
Mm-hmm.
chemo session and things like that. So, like everything, Patrice, like internet,
Mm-hmm.
AI, it's used for good or for bad,
Mm-hmm.
for good or for
Absolutely.
evil
Mm-hmm.
intentions.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that once upon a time, med schools and the medical industry found it very helpful before
Mm-hmm.
anesthesia and pharma came along. So people use this words, the power of the words and the voice to help patients relax before a dental procedure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but anesthesia right now is faster, quicker, easy, more profitable and lucrative, of
Absolutely.
course. So there's so much. And the reason I got into this is because I had a midwife that helped me with my first baby. And
Mm-hmm.
she helped me have, I don't know if you've heard of hypnobirthing
Mm-hmm.
and Lamaze at the time, 29 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So my child was born in a way where I still felt the pain, of course, etc., but it was manageable because of all the techniques she taught me. And at that
Mm-hmm.
time, I didn't connect it with hypnosis or whatever, but she was basically training me it was more mind over matter or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so um that is what it's about, and there's a lot of reason why, of course, people want to run away with it. They think it's mind control, mind manipulation,
Mm-hmm.
and no, people and practitioners might use it for that purpose. That's not what I'm here for and what I do, and it's very safe. It's very much a volunteer desire and
Mm-hmm.
intention. And if the person just wants to sign up with one of my programs just with life coaching, great.
Mm-hmm.
Many, though, are looking for me. They want to find me because they're done with the counseling, the talking therapy, and they want to try something else.
Mm-hmm.
And because they understand that there's a possibility there for them to step forward into the greatness with this methodology.
So, so I'm glad that you're providing even more clarification for those that, may have still had some doubts after your first response. Now you're helping them understand that, obviously, there are two sides, so to speak. People may use it for the wrong reasons. So here are my two quick questions. Number one, what school did you go to learn, what is the school of thought, or what's the principal at that particular school? And what would you say are the two things that people who are interested in using hypnosis to augment their therapy or their coaching, what are the two things they should be looking for in a provider if they can't actually schedule some time with you?
Sure. So
Mm-hmm.
Southwest Institute of Healing Arts
Mm-hmm.
is based in Arizona. I
Mm-hmm.
forgot the name of the city right now,
Mm-hmm.
but it was an online schooling, and it was amazing because it's when all these online things started happening, and it's just marvelous and a great answer for many people that
Mm-hmm.
I don't live in Arizona. So that was
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And the two things, you have to trust the person. How do
Mm-hmm.
you trust your people? Trust yourself, sorry, is listening to your body, listening to spirit, the divine, whatever it is. You need to
Mm-hmm.
understand that according to my experience, what you read in my website about me is true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to overpromise. I am
Mm-hmm.
very grounded. I don't make false promises,
Mm-hmm.
and someone needs to be completely honest. You have to detect in that person or that is full of integrity, and also the person needs to, the practitioner or me, I am always going to say, this is something like, if you feel like you really want to change and put in the work, and you can, if you want to believe, it's not because it's a placebo effect, but like
Mm-hmm.
everything, it has to have a little bit of faith, right? any medical procedure, any medication, you have to have some faith also that it's going to work. So you have to understand and be open to a new methodology, open to understand that your mind's very powerful and it can accomplish certain things. Nowadays, Patrice, there's this buzzword anxiety. And I usually help my clients understand that your mind is so creative that it can paint the worst case scenario for you to go crazy. Yeah. I've had friends that end up in the emergency room. It's just thinking they're dying of a heart attack, and it's a panic attack. So I'm like, let's use that. Let's redirect that energy to something positive and paint the most beautiful picture you can imagine. So that's the power we all have. It's a matter of having someone to guide you and help you accomplish that with the power of your imagination and visualization.
So glad that you pointed that out for a couple of reasons. Number one, so much to follow up on. Number one, I remember doing, I don't know if I can say the pandemic, because, sometimes what I understand YouTube looks for that. But I remember during the pandemic, I, like a lot of people started experiencing anxiety, in a noticeable way. I think we all experience it in some way throughout our life, but in a noticeable way, in a consistent way. And so what I did, as a result of all of the silent time that we had, is I just started getting in the habit of just doing certain things in the mornings to control the way that I perceive the day, or to actually control the way that my day unfolds by starting with the way I think. Then I realized, it really is powerful. So at night, when I would wake up, anxious about the fact that I was starting a new business in the middle of the pandemic, and how am I going to make money? I started learning, if I say certain things, I would say a certain thing to myself over and over again to make it go away. So I learned in 2000 that there is a way that you can use your brain to remove a lot of the thoughts that cause you to feel anxious, and a lot of things that it goes to show how powerful the mind is, because it starts with a thought that's negative, and you repeat it over and over again. It starts to impact your body, right? So that was one thing. And then the other follow-up to everything that you just said is that, there are a lot of people now that are focused on changing some of their outward experiences in life, but because they haven't really dealt with what's in their subconscious, it's hard for them to make that change. So it sounds like what you do is help them, like you said, augment that process. I don't want to use speed up the process, because I don't think it's all about speed, but yeah. So I'm glad.
I get it. It's kick it off, kickstart it, accelerate it a little bit, or even tap into that possibility.
Yeah,
because there's so many people that just stay in bed. They're afraid. They are afraid of living. That's why I love your podcast name. Because they're afraid to reinvent themselves. I have friends that tell me, I don't want to live long. I'm like, there's this documentary about longevity and living to 100. They're like, I don't want to live to 100.
Wow.
So, I know, right?
Yeah.
So, to tap into that desire to spark something, to live a life with purpose and intention. It's just so, the countenance, if you're familiar with the word countenance.
Yes.
Seeing them, when I used to have a brick and mortar office, which the pandemic helped us understand that now we're working and the person can have the earbuds or whatever, and it's an even better experience via Zoom, via video call.
Yes.
To see them walk into my office like this, hunched down and face down, or in my Zoom meetings like that. And then during the session, I see the change in their countenance, which is not just the face. Countenance is just the aspect, the spirit, the energy.
Yes.
It's just like so rewarding for me.
Yeah,
it is so magnificent and such a great experience to see that spark, that it's like a on and off button. Like, I can be an instrument to help people according to their own will and desire to have, say, enough is enough. I'm tired of living this life. I want to propel forward, more energetically and happy, with a different view of life. I mean, that is very satisfying.
Yeah. So you also shared that you have coached over 100 entrepreneurs. I may be 101, or one, whatever that number is now, and help them achieve, massive growth. Now, share your top client success story. Would love to hear how that's panned out for them.
When you're saying that, I'm like, oh, yes. So I coach in Switzerland. And that's when I started discovering, even before the pandemic, that, oh, this thing is with video is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. So he had self-doubt. He was struggling with his partner or
Mm-hmm.
spouse at the time. He
Mm-hmm.
came out of his shell and then now is
Mm-hmm.
kicking, kicking bottom out there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is one of my favorite ones, is the owner of a construction company,
Mm-hmm.
domestic and commercial. He
Mm-hmm.
was stuck. He was making everybody so mad in his company, his team. It's not a huge company. It's a
Mm-hmm.
local company here where I live. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, Lori, I've done my business for 20 years. I've been
Mm-hmm.
very successful. I can do things with my eyes closed. And lately something's going on and I don't know what it is. And I remember he approached me because in one of these networking meetings, and I was sharing my elevator, pitch,
Mm-hmm.
and what is it that I do in 30 seconds or less. And
Mm-hmm.
I say, if you're ready for me to help you with your thought process, etc., I'm the person you can talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to me after the meeting, and he said, I want you to get into my mind and figure out what the heck is going on with me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that's what people usually run away from. And I'm like, I'm looking for this strong and courageous people that
Mm-hmm.
are not afraid to face their biggest fears, or for me to dig in there and
Mm-hmm.
try to sort it out with
Mm-hmm.
them, not for
Yeah.
them, with them.
Yeah.
And he hadn't closed deals. He was driving his staff and his team crazy with anger, rage, and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
tantrums. Is like, what is it called when we're adults? It's a different name when we're adults. They're not called tantrums, but
Mm-hmm.
anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyways, we sorted things out. And Patrice, what people don't understand is that they're going through some hidden grief. They do
Mm-hmm.
not understand that inside they're grieving some losses.
Mm.
They're grieving things from their past, from their childhood, that
Yeah.
when we start this process and getting together and asking questions, and me digging deep into certain things like intuitively and according to what I hear and the unspoken even,
Mm-hmm.
there's some discoveries that happen that is amazing. And
Yeah.
in one session, I remember him even curling into a ball like fetal position because um those self-discoveries, right, that
Mm-hmm.
kind of help him understand, like, this explains, this makes a lot of sense. That's one of them. After we were done with the process, he closed his biggest commercial deal.
Mm.
He's just rocking it all. So I see him and I follow him in social media, and I'm like, good job. He was even
Good.
camera shy,
Yeah.
and now he's doing little videos about his projects, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can go on and on. A real estate agent that was not very happy with the company he was in, help him understand that that was not the company he needed to continue with.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
when he changed, he loved what he did. He was very good at it. So it's not all about drastic changes, or
Mm-hmm.
he needed a little bit of a self-realization in some areas, like you need to teach others how to treat you.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
are you going to continue in this situation when
Mm-hmm.
you can and I don't think I even intended to say it. Wasn't very clear or implied. It was more implied.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, he's like, Lori, you helped me realize that I am not with a company that I want to continue with, and
Wow.
I'm gonna change, and I'm gonna do
Yeah.
this, and now I'm working with this and I'm happier. And I'm like, very good.
Good. So that is, um, and like it's I know it wasn't instant, but it does seem like it can bring about clarity in a deeper way, not just the timing perhaps, but also deeper. Now, for those of you who are interested in Lori and her services, definitely visit her website at steadfastforward.com. And that's actually one of my questions. Steadfastforward.com. So why don't we start with that question? What made you decide to choose Steadfast Forward? Is that the name of the company? And why did you choose it?
Yeah, I like to read scripture that many
Mhm,
of the scriptures that I've read that says and this person is moving steadfast
mhm,
and it was courageous and
mhm,
it's steadfast is someone it's like a pillar. It's
mhm,
someone that is just grounded and knows where they stand in life, in their belief system, etc. So
mm,
and I want people to step steadfast and forward into their greatness.
mhm.
There's people out there not living to their full potential, and
Yeah.
that's what I want them, because that happened to me. I experienced it. I don't know that I'm still living to my fullest potential, and that's at a forever an ongoing journey, right? But at
Yes.
least I'm trying to pursue my passions and the things that I want to do, and I want others to do it too. There's
Mhm.
so many, and speaking of my clients, there's another client that I don't know if I have it in me to write my own book. Like, who wants to
Mm.
read my story? And I'm like, you have so much rich content here. Like,
Yeah.
because I like to take notes from my
Mhm.
sessions, and I'm like, I can write it for you.
Yeah.
Say it's my own story. I'm never gonna
Yeah.
do
No,
that.
I know
But
you were
I'm
kidding.
like, and I'm like, you have so much to share.
Mhm.
All of us, Patrice, all of us we are a story, a walking volume
Yeah.
of encyclopedia on stories and
Mhm.
adventures and nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah.
If we decide to share it with the world, not everybody needs to do it, but I'm just saying the people that have that desire but suppress it because
Yeah.
of self-doubt, I want to let them know that you can do it. You can do
Yeah.
it.
So, one of the things I also learned about you is that you consider yourself your first client. And of course, grandma was the first coach. So tell me about that experience. When did you realize, because of what you've learned, that you needed, of course, first work on yourself? So would love to learn about that.
Yeah, so not sure that anybody else has expressed it that way, because many people have told me the same about when I have that down in my website. But yes, it's just this exercise says if we're to help others, we need to help ourselves. I put that oxygen mask first. If we're gonna help other people breathe, we need to be breathing ourselves. And
Mhm,
the homework, the coaching sessions we needed to have with each other as classmates to
mhm,
practice a new tool or a new technique and methodology and things like that. Oh my goodness, it
mhm,
helped me realize, oh my goodness, Laura, you need to detach from this. You need to
mm,
reprogram your mind from this or that. And then it helped me tap into my inner wisdom,
mhm,
understand my full potential, my worth,
mhm.
for me to elevate myself and be able to preach, right?
Yeah,
To tell
absolutely.
others, I see this potential in you. And I
Mhm,
say that I was my own first client, but of course that came with the professors and their
mm,
feedback whenever I turned it in homework and things like that, and they would give me feedback how wonderful that was, or the classmates, when we
mhm.
helped each other. But ultimately, it boiled down to me. What was I going to make of all that praise or all those
Yeah.
insights that I was gaining? I
Mhm.
needed to believe it. I needed to
Yeah.
believe in myself. And that's what I mean with I was my own first client, because I
Mhm.
needed to implement all those teachings and learnings and help myself heal
Yeah.
from limiting beliefs and all that.
And I imagine that when you do that, it again deepens your experience with each client, your level of empathy,
Yeah.
yeah. So I absolutely understand why you would need to first work on yourself in order to help others. And using the oxygen mask is an excellent example. Now, the tagline on your website. And when I first went to your website, I was like, wow, that's great. Not only is it a great tagline from a marketing point of view, but it really piqued my interest. So now I'm like, I really want to know. And so for those of you who haven't been to her website yet, and don't forget, you can go at steadfast-forward.com. That tagline is, I want to make sure here I have it. It is turn your inner critic into your strongest ally. Tell us what you learned about yourself or your clients that made you select that tagline.
That It's easy, Patrice. Like, we are our own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
are the ones that suffer, another little buzz phrase out there with coaches and in our kind of field and world is like imposter syndrome. Like, we're the
Mm-hmm.
ones that shy away from greatness. We're the ones that are in our heads 24/7.
Yeah.
And then we're the one. Henry Ford used to say, if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're
Yes.
right. So,
I
so
love that.
then we are we our own best friends and advocates,
Mm-hmm.
or are we our worst enemy. So we need to become our own best friends and allies, because once you start changing that programming, or because of external voices we used to hear, because of our own insecurities or perceptions, because it's sometimes very self-inflicted. I said I was the youngest of 4 kids, and my mom was divorced, and forever I carried that over my shoulders. Like, my parents didn't stay together when I came into the world. Was I not enough? Was I not worth fighting for the relationship to stay together? You know, those insecurities in that reptilian brain, when you're developing, where you're growing up, those things are anchored in. If you've heard me using anchored in, and it's like programming, then one of my steps, since you mentioned my book, is reframing sabotaging perceptions. It's one of my R's from my Fast Forward method, or 7 R's method. When I reframe that, and I gave my mom more praises, like, she's part of this equation, and I have been given the spouse, or my father, that he left and he made his choice to leave, or whatever. I've been giving that so much weight, and I've been thinking I'm not good enough, and I'm not good enough. And so when I change that narrative and that voice that I created myself, or if you've had a teacher telling you, my husband keeps telling me, there was a trumpet band teacher that said, you're never going to make it, you're horrible, you suck at it, and things like that. Those voices stay in there. And a little girl showed me one time, you need to change the channel. You need to change the programming. You need to change the radio station. What you need to flip the tortilla. What, we can go on and on. We need to change it. We need to change it. And once you realize your worth, now you understand your when you understand your full potential, etc., you can become your own best self, best friend and ally, and plot to be successful, and smile, and feel joy, and pursue those things that give you fulfillment and in life. So that's.
And would you say that, because a lot of times when people say, like, for example, you just said you need to change it, you need to change the channel. Would you say, and because as I'm thinking, change takes time, at least for me. But you have to believe, number one, that you are worth what's on the other side. But what are your thoughts about, people's perception of change, how quick it can happen or how slow it can happen, and whether or not they decide not to change, they decide to dig their heels in because of the hard work. And sometimes it's not, the hard work it sometimes takes to change. And it's not necessarily hard work, it's the consistent work that it takes to change. What are your thoughts about that?
My thoughts about that is, number one, speed is not important as long as you're going to the right direction. It's the direction you're going, right? And that direction is like, even you can go a little back, 2 steps forward, and then 1 step back, and then continue going forward, because of course we're going to go, oops, I did it again, kind of thing. But if you think of an arrow, you pull it backwards to then pick up speed and momentum, right? So it's okay sometimes to go backwards to move forward, but as long as you're clear on that target, is important. So to answer your question, speed is not very important, but as long as you understand the direction you want to go, and then that desire is very important too. Again, my ideal client is somebody that says, enough is enough. I'm done. I'm tired of being sick and tired. So those are the people that I believe in being a lighthouse. I've done all this work. I put up my website. I go live on a Facebook group once a week. I'm doing my work, marketing, organically, whatever I decide to do. My work is done, and I'm there. I'm available to the public. And I have this philosophy of the lighthouse. I am a lighthouse. I'm standing here with all my lights shining. Now I want the ship to come to me, kind of thing. And that's what I pray for. I pray for, and I want those clients that are seeking for something else, for something more, and are willing to put the effort to change. Now, about the work, like you were asking me, we don't like a very ugly, rundown hotel, a very ugly, stinky grocery store, even, because I have walked into stinky, horrible grocery stores. We like when we see the sign saying, pardon our progress. It gets messy before it gets better.
Wow.
So I tell my clients, that's what's going to happen. You have this desire to share, to change, and I bet get messy. It might trigger some things. It might open up some wounds that are not completely scarred. Because scarred is one thing, and then still kind of not completely healed is another thing. And I say, are you okay with that? Are you willing to go through this together?
Yeah. Well, having said that, and we have a few questions, but I just want to make sure that we address these two things. Number one, because you are helping them enter into their subconscious minds, and let me know if I'm describing that incorrectly. There has to be, I'm sure, what are your thoughts, or what do you do to make sure that they feel comfortable, that there may be some confidential or even some shame or just some shameful things that they would probably be ashamed of? How do you help them address that? And what are your, policies, so to speak, around confidentiality? Because I'm sure there are people that are wondering, yeah, I would love that help, but what if something comes out that I wouldn't normally be willing to share?
It's up to you, right? It's up to the individual and the client how vulnerable and how open they want to be. I help with clinical hypnosis. I help accomplish that trance state, etc., and relax and open their mind to this. I'm not a mind reader. I'm not a mind reader. So building that rapport and that trust, it's hard, I know, for some people. And I have perceptions. I perceive certain things. It's different than assumptions. Assumptions, because when you're assuming, you're judging and passing this judgment, and you're telling the other person, hey, this happened to you, right?
Yeah.
I have perceptions, and then I ask questions to try to get it from out of their mouth, right?
Yeah.
And this client, I have like 12-week programs and different programs, and I had this perception that she had been probably sexually assaulted or molested. It would not get out of her mouth. And I think as part of the intake form, I kind of went there a little bit, but didn't want to push it. And she kind of, no. And throughout our program, our time together during the sessions and things like that, of course, she was feeling more at ease and more relaxed, and more trust was building. The bridge of trust was building. She renewed, is what I call it. Like, she decided to stay with me longer and continue working with me. And not until that round is when things came to the surface, and she opened up, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in tune. I was not mistaken, or I was not passing a judgment. So not sure if that answers, but it takes determination. And you talked about a season in life where this world kind of shut down, right? You said something about your control, things that are, and you were figuring out certain things, and congratulations to you for accomplishing that.
Thank you.
You were wanting to meditate. You were wanting to think of the things that there were so many unknowns. There were so much fear mongering, so many newness in the world, that you took care of the things you were able to control.
Yeah.
And that is what I tell my clients. I cannot control you, as much as people think, this is mind control and things like that. I will not. That's not my intention. And this is going to be up to you. Yeah. The fastest you want to open up, that like my construction company person, he's amazing. And he was ready. He's like, here I am. I'm an open book. Help me.
Yeah.
The better is going to go. And like you were talking about speed, probably the faster you will be able to be self-aware and on your way to healing or to happiness and joy.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about the upcoming retreats. I think it sounds like the retreats are amazing and awesome. If the clinical hypnosis is going to be a part of that, I don't know, but definitely want to learn about the retreats. Is this going to be your first one? Have you done them before? And what should people expect?
I haven't done them before, and I'm doing this with my business partner, Tammy Crawford. We have joined ventures, and this is our desire we've had individually, and we happen to find each other and join our ideas, etc. But I have participated in retreats with this intention, and unbeknownst to the retreat organizers, now I want to, and with more intention, and a little bit different than what I participated in. We want to design these retreats out in nature, with personal development in mind. I cannot it is not good for me to do hypnosis in a group setting.
Of course. Yeah.
However, a visualization session, like a guided meditation session, is different.
Yeah.
And I know the differences. So it's not as personable. It's not as, oh, we're going to deal with this specific issue right now.
Yeah.
It's just a general guided meditation to help everybody there, with a metaphor to enjoy nature, to relax and things like that. That's definitely going to happen. And between my business partner and myself, we're going to provide our purpose is to provide transformative experiences with our participants. We are targeting, or our niche is those people that are always taking care of others, heart center providers and service people that are always taking care of the world, fixing the world, and then they neglect themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
If that's you listening,
yeah,
find out more about what we're doing, because we're probably going to be an answer for you, because what we want is people to stop and smell the roses.
Yeah.
Stop the hustle and bustle, disconnect from that life and speed of stress and all that, to reconnect with divine, with nature, with themselves. Or we also offer parenting connection retreats. But you ask about an upcoming one, and we have one coming up in August in North Idaho, which is a beautiful area, beautiful forests, beautiful lakes we're going to go to. And it doesn't matter if you don't have the ability or physical condition to go, we'll accommodate for you. And just being out there in nature will help you. There's studies that show how healing out there, therapeutic, there's the Puerto Rican in me, therapeutic nature sounds and being out in nature is. So we want that for our clients.
I'm so glad you brought up the retreats and how it really deepens, some of the experiences people need to have sometimes to be able to take them to the next level, whatever their own next level is. Visualization, which I've actually done an episode on. I'm far from an expert, but I've participated in a few sessions and it's just awesome. But tell me what you think about the life coaching industry in general, because there are quite a few people out there that are life coaches that are also offering retreats. What makes yours different? And the one you're going to be doing in partnership with I think you said her name was
Tammy.
Okay, perfect. So would love to know what makes this a different experience.
Well, I don't know exactly what everybody else is doing, Patrice. All I know is our combined, I have 8 children. She has 2. She has grandchildren. I already have grandchildren. I mean, you can't change, being a mother and dealing with that amount of children. We have both volunteered with youth at our congregations, at different or nonprofit organizations. We have so much insight and wisdom. We have tools, Tammy's expertise as an artist and how to see things in that perspective, and her love of nature. She also has health issues that she's been able to cope with and improve on because of nature. That we're combining all of our years of experiences, volunteered, coaching that we have undergone through. We met at a coaching program. We both have a common coach, which is the coach that encouraged us to each write a book. And we didn't know each other at the time that we were each writing and publishing our books and things like that, going through that experience. But there's a lot that we can bring to the plate, and we have a problem. The problem is that we don't, it's taken us so much for us to toot on our own horn. We have helped each other. You've done that? Well, how come I haven't seen that in your website and things like that? You need to put that in there. And we've helped each other, like, come on, we need to learn as part of the sales and marketing and all that, but we need to learn how, and we're learning and we're doing it now. But I think that's very different. I know people that think of a retreat, think of yoga and certain things and sounding bowls and all that. And if that's what you need and that's what you want, hey, there's a lot of retreats that offer that. With us, it's a little bit more grounded. It's a little bit more practical. We might invite somebody to help with a yoga session, and our signature adventures are going to be all inclusive. So if that retreat center or place in St. Lucia or Barbados offers yoga and you want to go ahead and enjoy that because it's all inclusive, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But what we want is share personal growth, practical personal growth principles,
Mm-hmm.
help you connect with yourself, with the like-minded people that are going to be participating in an intimate setting too, and
Mm-hmm.
connect with nature and the divine. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're offering.
Yeah,
Our
yeah.
difference.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, love that. I really appreciate you really breaking that down and helping people understand what the takeaway or takeaways will be. So, Lori, part of the reason why, Lori is doing amazing work. She's working with entrepreneurs. She's, a clinical hypnotist, which I'd never heard of before. But I guess many hypnotists are clinical hypnotists. I don't know, but Lori's been featured, guys, on Univision, the cover of an international magazine, and when you go to her website, you can see all of the other press coverage that she's had. So, Lori, what do you think makes your story so interesting, so that journalists and others want to feature you and your work?
It's that sense of wanting to do something more. I can say, oh, my identity was so attached to being a mom. Oh, I've done everything I can. I've been pregnant for 6 years, nursing or
Mm-hmm.
changing diapers or for
Yes.
X amount of time. I'm done with my contributions with community and society.
Yeah.
I think it's just that rebirth, that desire to identify myself with something else, do
Mm-hmm.
something more, and that desire to be a light. So if you think of a match or a candle, I want to be able to impart that flame so that other lights can be ignited or
Mm-hmm.
shine bright too. And maybe that might be it, or the combination of both modalities, life coaching with clinical hypnosis, and how merging those together have allowed clients to step forward and steadfast and forward into their greatness.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question for the people that reach out to me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
whenever I try to say, hey, sell my stories, like, hey, I'm a mom of eight, I think people are relatable. People
Mm-hmm.
understand that. I had an interview last night, and the person has a very calming effect on me. The
Mm-hmm.
person that was interviewing me is like, and I appreciate the effect of calmness that you have in me. And he's like, why? So what is the opposite of calmness? And I'm like, speed. I like speed.
Mm-hmm.
And he started asking me why did I think I thrive on that or I allow that in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
nobody's ever asked me that before. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, you know what? Because being a mom of 8 kids, I never wanted to be late anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
never wanted my house to look chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
And laundry, dishes. I had a little bit of a boot camp here
Yeah,
because I didn't
absolutely.
want